Welcome to the Taking the Lead Media Podcast, broadcasting from the island of Oahu, playing weekly playlists of independent music from here on the island and the rest of the world, and now doing interviews with musicians, bands, and record label heads. My name is Onofre, and welcome to episode 117. This is a special episode because it is the top 25 of 2017 episode. I compiled a list of 25 of my favorite albums of the year, and you can read up on my reviews on each of these albums on this podcast website, takingtheleadmedia.com. The last time I did this kind of show was back in 2011, and that was only the second year of the podcast. It's a challenge putting together these kinds of lists, and to choose a cutoff point. Should it be mid-December or the first week? It usually depends on the release, but I'm happy to get this episode out on time this year. 1 year ago, I was going to actually stop this podcast. I was putting together my year-end list for 2016 and outline the last year of this podcast. And it was something like 2 episodes a month, but I wasn't even going to break 100 episodes. And I really wanted to do that. But earlier this year, I decided to keep this going. I sort of found my routine and just really been more active, especially with regards to networking and reaching out to more bands and people involved in the music industry. Met lots of cool people and happy with this new added dynamic with having people on the show. So thanks especially to those people who have been on the show so far. Thank you for taking time out to do this. I do enjoy the talks and I enjoy what all you do. So thank you. And thank you to the listeners. I know there's at least a handful of you out there. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me talk and for checking out the tunes from these awesome bands. I hope you found a new favorite from one of these episodes. And hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas and got everything you wanted. I got some sick gifts and I'll post them sometime on the website. And but now looking forward to the new year. Some resolutions, maybe train for the Honolulu Marathon. I've always wanted to do that at least once. Maybe read more, a book a week or maybe every 2 weeks. We'll see. Lots of cool releases coming out next year. Looking forward to all of that. The ones I know of right now there's new ones coming from Census Fail, Sleeping Giant, Drones, Jesse Pino, Harm's Way, Backtalk, Craig's Brother, Hi-Fi Ninja, Antimatter. And those guys are always writing new music. And hopefully a new album from Faithless Saints from Portland, Oregon. But that's 2018. Still some waiting time. So let's get the show started. Top 25 of 2017. I think it's a nice list that I've compiled. Lots of hardcore, metalcore, and punk with a bit of indie rock and some progressive rock too. There's quite a few debuts on the list too, and a handful of local Hawaii bands too. A lot of new stuff from the islands. Opening the show though, usually what I like to do at the 25th spot, I tend to put on a re-release of some kind. This year, I chose the remastering of the 2004 EP From Paradise to Parking Lots by Pennylane, released through Indie Vision Music. I read the title was in reference to the band's move from the island of Kauai to Portland, Oregon. And so the remaster includes a new cover and includes only the first 6 tracks. The original EP included 3 live tracks. Silent Sky is a dope track, and I wish they had done a studio track of that. The Terminator breakdown is nuts, boo. Yeah, but this re-release is here as it was originally intended. These 6 tracks are gold. The opening track builds into Not Waving But Drowning. Big sounding rock track that sort of settles into a really clean intro of the third track, Violent Remedy. This track most reflects the sound of a lot of emo screamo bands of the early 2000s, and it's a nice blend of clean guitars and distortion, along with the aggressive vocals and subtle ones too, and this reflects the rest of the tracks as well. They close out big with the track The Role of You Care. And if Brandon from Indie Vision Music is listening, talk to the members of the band and convince them to re-release, the Prom King album, Yellow Snow's EP, and maybe stuff from Long Shot. That stuff needs to be heard. Anyway, opening this top 25 of 2017 list is the track Losing You off of the remastered EP From Paradise to Parking Lots. The band is Pennylane, and you're listening to them here on the Taking the Lead Media Podcast. Alright, the number 24 spot goes to Sacred Fire, an up-and-coming thrash metal band from Los Angeles, California. They've been making noise throughout the year with countless shows, none of which I attended, but I see posts about them all the time. They just did a small December tour with Liar's Tongue, and they also be releasing some new tunes in the new year. Lots of drive in this band. The songs show it, most definitely. And the release on the number 24 spot is a small promo tape, 3 songs available through Panda Claw Records. Aggressive tunes, thrashy attitude, and killer riffs make up the sound. Do check them out on Bandcamp. The song I'll be playing is called For the Cross off of their 2017 promo. This is Sacred Fire. The number 23 spot is a 4-piece from Kailua, Hawaii. Riot girl punk rock kind of sound. And I just saw them for the first time too recently. The band is called Rotten Blossom. Excellent sounding live. The vocals were pretty gnarly when I saw them. And I should say sounds better live for sure. Very scorching and ear piercing in a good way, of course. Their release this year is an 8-song album titled Get Lict. Very raw sounding, lots of guitar feedback, fuzzy riffs, and an angst-filled tone. An excellent first effort from this band. The song I'll be playing is titled Can't Have It. The album is Get Licked, and this is Rotten Blossom.
Feel you for it. go. I'm flying home to round and round and round the world I go. I'm flying home to round and round and round the world I go. I'm flying home to round and round and round the world I go. Round and round and round the world I go. I'm flying home to round and round and round the world I go. I'm flying home to round and round and round the world I go. I'm flying home to you. Oh baby, it's true. And when I'm in outer space, I'll be dreaming of your face and counting down the days alone with you. Alone with you. Alone with you. Ba, 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 ba. 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 Alone with you.
Alright, that was Toxic Kid with the track Final Frontier from their self-titled album at the number 22 spot. Excellent rock and roll and punk from the Northwest, P-Town to be exact. Their self-titled album is 16 songs of Ramones-style, melody-filled rock, and it's 16 songs and each and every one of them is dope. But I mean, I have my favorites too. Do check out this album at toxickid.bandcamp.com and check out the tracks Ariana, Final Frontier, Falling in Love, and Walk With Me. Really love those songs. I learned about this band through No Pants Records, also based in Portland, Oregon. Check out the rest of that roster too if you get a chance. Nice range of different styles. Up next is the band Ghost Police from San Antonio, Texas, with members from Sones and Pinko, I believe. Two other excellent bands. Their album is called Keep It To Yourself, released close to the beginning of this year in February. It's 14 tracks of sort of noise, prog rock, hardcore, and punk. Very aggressive tunes and a bit on the heavier side. And I want to say there's their songs are kind of structured where the bass is louder than the guitar, maybe just a tiny bit. But I do love that kind of sound, and I do love a lot of the bass lines on this album. Very warm sounding and loud. Don't get me wrong, the drums, guitar, and vocals are just as awesome. The guitars on the track Blood Sausage are on point. Very dissonant, very dope. This album too is also, it follows up their 2013 album and maybe their last one for a while, if not the final album. It's definitely a banger. The song I'll be playing is titled Crawl Space, and the album is Keep It To Yourself. And this is Ghost Police here on the Taking the Lead Media Podcast.
Without
so that is it for this part of the top 25 of 2017 show. I decided to release this episode into, or separate it into 3 parts, as not to have one maybe like 2-hour long episode or something. Not that long, but do check out the other parts of this episode. It's all released at the same time, so if you're subscribed to this podcast on iTunes, check out part 2 of this episode. Or if you're streaming it on the website at takingaleadmedia.com, just scroll down. Do check out the links on these bands. They'll be posted on the website. Alright, see ya on part 2.
You place a squeeze and take a nap.